Hey Hit Team family, it's Miss Jessie. So I wanted to do a quick little video for you guys. I'm going to publish or put out a kind of like a grocery list that you could use as a guide for your plant-based eating that you're going to be doing for Hit Team. Because for a lot of you, this might be something that you've never done before or never even thought about doing before. So you might just be really confused about what the heck you're supposed to be eating right now. So this grocery list is just a rough outline. There's plenty more. If you search online, the plan that we're using is inspired by what's called the Daily Dozen, which was the checklist that we're using, and the person who I follow most with this is the person who created it. He is so well researched. This is his entire life is researching constantly all of the scientific published journal articles. So it's science-based, it's evidence-based, as opposed to just anecdotal. And his name is Dr. Michael Greger, and he's fantastic. So if you look at nutritionfacts.org, it's a nonprofit website, and it has so much information, and all of this comes from that. So use your resources, look up stuff online. I'm putting YouTube videos from YouTubers that I like that follow this plan up on our playlist, our Hit Team 2020 playlist on YouTube. And if that's helpful for you, please watch the videos and follow. Some of those recipes are delicious. But in general, you want it to be as simple. In my mind, you want it to be as simple as possible, because in order for us to be able to just deal with this on the day to day, it needs to be simple. Nobody wants to put all this thought into their food. And anytime you change up the way you're eating, you really do have to think about what you're getting at the grocery store. All right, so if we look at this list, the first category is just things we cook with. So condiments and things like that. And some of them are self-explanatory, garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, turmeric, Italian seasoning. Those are all just spices that we use a lot of. Some of them I wanted to show you and, just explain a little bit. So the first one says amino acids and or tamari. So what that means is, I'm sorry, not amino acids, liquid aminos. So that's the bio teacher. These would be found with the soy sauce, and that's what you use them for. Okay, so this is Bragg's liquid aminos. And it's a natural soy sauce alternative. No preservatives, so you're not going to find any MSG in here, which can be very inflammatory for a lot of people. And it's used in a lot of recipes in place of soy sauce, and we absolutely love it. Tamari is another alternative. We kind of do like a combination. When we make, one of the dishes we make a lot is cauliflower fried rice. And we kind of do a little bit of this and a little bit of something called tamari, which is a gluten-free soy sauce, but it's reduced sodium. It's fermented soy sauce, basically. And these two are things we use a lot. So that's something that is a staple in our pantry, as well as apple cider vinegar. So one of the recipes, actually a few of the recipes we use apple cider vinegar, especially if you like to do kind of like a cold salad, like a chickpea salad, I'm going to make, I'll show you that recipe, or like our baked beans, their healthy baked beans recipe calls for apple cider vinegar. So we usually get a big bottle of this, and just we go through it pretty fast lately. Something else, we don't personally use this too much except for our buffalo chicken. It's not chicken, but it's buffalo dip. And that's a really good recipe. I posted that earlier, but some red hot sauce. You want to look though, because we use Frank's Red Hot, because the ingredients are aged cayenne red peppers, distilled vinegar, water, salt, garlic powder. That's it. If you look at some of these other hot sauces, you're going to find a lot of other ingredients that you don't need. It's hot sauce. You're going to put it on, it's going to taste like hot sauce. So that's, something to look at when you're in the grocery store. Just get a basic brand, a basic, ingredient recipe. Something else on the list is balsamic vinegar. We use it a ton. There's all sorts of different balsamics you can get. And in the summer, personally, Mr. Bittner and I use balsamic on a lot. We, we'll dice up zucchini, or not dice it, but slice it and grill it. We'll marinate in it. I put it on basically everything under the sun. So with the balsamic, you can kind of get a little bit adventurous. So we like to go to the stores. There's like one in Easton Public Market where you can actually try different balsamics. And we get some like aged balsamic. And it might have a higher sugar content. I think it does because it's more condensed. However, it is delicious. And a whole tablespoon is only 2 grams of sugar. So it's very low. So we use that for salad dressing, so many things. But get different kinds. If you have the time, Easton Public Market has curbside, so you could always do that. But or you could just go to ShopRite and get the regular balsamic vinegar. But it's something that we use a lot. Another thing that you're going to see on here is whole ground mustard. It's also called old style mustard. And personally, I'm not a mustard fan, back in my meat eating days, like hot dogs. But this stuff is delicious. I use it in salad dressing every time I make it, as well as marinade. So basically, anytime I'm using balsamic, I'm also using the whole seed mustard or whole ground mustard. Delicious. Another thing that you might see in some recipes, I don't use it too frequently, but if you look up like plant-based vegan recipes, you might see nutritional yeast. And that sounds like a really weird name, but it gives like a cheesy flavor to a lot of things. It's like a yellow flaky kind of thing. I don't know if you can see in there. All right, so nutritional yeast, there's a bunch of different brands, but Bragg's, just like the liquid aminos, that is a variety that a lot of people use, or a brand. And I think, if you like a cheesy texture, or a cheesy taste, I should say, in a lot of things, this could be very useful for you. You could sprinkle it on pasta. You can sprinkle it into rice. A lot of recipes call for it. So, you don't have to. It's also a really good source of vitamin B. You just don't want to overdo it. So don't put this on everything. Just, use it occasionally. It's not bad, but just with that vitamin B stuff. Okay. Those are basically the things that we cook with. Then I have on the list frozen vegetables. So get some steamable edamame. You can get shelled, or you can get in the pod still. If you're not familiar with edamame, try it. It's delicious. You pop these steamable bags into the microwave, and if you're really good, you rinse out the bag and save it for Trex and recycle it. And then when it comes out, you just sprinkle some coarse salt on there, or sea salt, and you don't eat the pods. So that's a common misconception. You don't eat the pods. You kind of like pop them out like a sugar snap pea when it's too ripe, or gone too far. Sometimes it's too chewy on the outside. The edamame is the same kind of thing. So that is delicious. You can get it shelled though, so you don't even have to worry about the pod. Another way you can have edamame, which is not frozen, but you can get it in these big bins as dry roasted salted edamame, and there's no oil. So it's just soybeans, which is what edamame is, and sea salt. This brand is called Sea Point Farms. Get it at the regular grocery store. You just got to look for things a little bit more than you would, because it's not going to be out there with the Nabisco products and the, General Mills products, because it's not as popular. But they're just like little beans that are dry roasted and salted, and just a good snack. So it's kind of gives you the same feeling as snacking on like a almond or something. However, it's better because it's a bean. It can, it's not as high in fat. All right, so 1/3 of a cup is only 4 grams of fat, which a nut like an almond or a cashew is going to be higher. So steamed edamame, steamed broccoli. If you like mixed peas and carrots, I'm gonna show you our riced cauliflower, or our cauliflower fried rice recipe, and we use like a mixed bag of peas and. Now, I don't usually use the steamable kind, but you can get that. I think there's that in steamable. And then the riced cauliflower itself we get in the steamed bags as well, because we steam it first in the microwave and then we put it into the pan to cook it up even more. So those are on the list, pretty self-explanatory. I wanted to show you the cauliflower, the riced cauliflower. Take a look though. That's why I wanted to show you, because if you look at like the green giant variety is great because it's just cauliflower. Don't fall for the pre-packaged like cauliflower rice medley. If you look at those ingredients, they're loaded with salt, sugar, and a lot of times cheese. So stay away from any, even the seasoned ones like garlic and herb. The sodium is through the roof. All right, so you can make it garlic and herb by yourself just by adding garlic and herbs and some salt, but not as nearly as much salt as they put in the prepackaged ones. So we use the Green Giant original cauliflower, and it's fried, or a cauliflower riced, and it's just the cauliflower. So make sure you do that. So fresh vegetables, really, you want to focus on, make sure you always have a leafy green because you can make salads with it, or you can make, if you use spinach or kale, in a smoothie. Okay, so make sure you have a leafy green somewhere in the house, in the fridge. Any vegetable you enjoy, get it. And if there's a vegetable that you're not sure if you enjoy, try it. Get one or two of them and give it a shot. I can say that my tastes have changed and I enjoy vegetables now that I never thought I would. And that can happen to you as you go through this process. So even sometimes what you might not like week 1, week 3, you're going to be like, actually, that tastes pretty good. All right. So I had that happen to me this summer with beets. Never liked beets in my life. The beets I'm growing outside, they're delicious. I love them. And, never thought I would say that. And things that you would like to cut up. So like keep fresh, cut up vegetables in your fridge. When you get home from the grocery store, put the groceries away. And if you have time, if you're a parent and your kids are in bed, or if you're not, and you get home from the grocery store and you have those fresh vegetables, cut them up and store them in the fridge cut up. It's going to make your life so much easier when you're hungry later on. So I like to do this with cucumbers from the garden, but you could do this with peppers. Sugar snap peas are easy because you can just grab them and go. You want to make your life easier. If you're a carrot fan, personally, I don't like the baby carrots. I think they have a different taste. So I'll take a big carrot and you can cut it up and keep it in the fridge. Tomatoes, little, keep a thing of cherry tomatoes in your fridge. Celery, a lot of people like celery with almond butter. You want to watch that amount of almond butter if you have weight to lose, or peanut butter. Most people, sorry, I'm allergic to peanuts, so everything's almond butter in my mind. Personally, we don't eat celery raw frequently because it's just a texture thing, but whatever you like, get it and get a lot of it. Potatoes and onions. You're going to want onions because you're going to cook a lot with onions to give some extra flavor if you like onions. Red onions are even better than yellow onions in terms of nutritional value, but any onion's going to do. So get yourself some onions, get some sweet potatoes, get some white potatoes. Potatoes are a great vegetable. They've been shunned from many people's diets because of the starch content, but if you're eating a whole foods plant-based diet, you're good. Now you're not going to smother that potato in butter, and you're not going to make mashed potatoes with milk and butter, but you can use it, roast it, grill it, marinate it with some Italian dressing. Delicious. So go crazy with potatoes. In-season vegetables are going to be the best tasting ones. So right now, squash, yellow squash, green squash, zucchini. We have all sorts of squash we're growing in the garden. We've got this cool little guy here, and a scallop squash. So you can, things right now in the grocery store, they look like gourds. Those are squashes you can eat. So try them, see what happens. Other things that are fresh right now, tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, green beans. I'm going to show you guys a recipe this week for a vegan, healthy-esque green bean casserole. It's a little bit of a splurge, but you need that occasionally. And corn right now, sweet corn, so good. So pick some of that up at the grocery store. It is in season. And then the next category is fresh fruits, any that you want. So make sure though that you get berries. So you want strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, goji berries, gooseberries, any kind of berry. All right, you want to get the berries. Berries are loaded with nutrients that are antioxidants, and they are going to help clear up our bloodstream and our cells of things that are going around trying to damage our cells, basically. And so get some berries, eat those berries in your breakfast, have them for a snack, delicious. Other fruits, I always make sure that when we're in like a really good shake, where we're making shakes in the mornings a lot, You're going to want to make sure you have bananas. And the trick with the bananas, if you're going to be making shakes tomorrow, get small bananas that are good for shakes. You don't want like massive bananas because it's going to be too much banana in the shake, maybe too big for your the thing you make your shakes in. But small bananas, and get them already a little bit ripe so that you don't have to wait. So I used to get them on the greener side so they could sit on the counter longer, but if I'm going to use them tomorrow, get the riper ones. And then right now melons are in season, so watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, get the fruit, cut it up, and then you have it in the fridge. I'm just going to show you. We had this melon I got, it's called Sweet Kiss Cantaloupe. Oh my goodness. Just cutting it up, putting it in a container so that way you have easy access to it for a snack. I'm going to leave this out because after I'm done with this video, I'm going to have some of it. And delicious. Apples, you know, our peaches, nectarines are good for on the go. So if you're, you know, running around, if the kids, you have to bring the kids here and there, you know, get those good to go fruits for yourself. If you have work, something you can put in your lunchbox that's not going to turn to mush, is really smart. All right. And then, so here are some other things besides the fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. So some other things like dried cranberries, you can put those in salads. Lots of beans. So you can get your beans in multiple ways. So this is a bean serving. I have this later on the list, but chickpea pasta, great in a cold salad. I don't necessarily like it hot with the chickpea pasta, but I like it in a cold salad, like a pasta salad with a vinaigrette. Really good, and it tastes like pasta. When you eat it warm, it definitely tastes like chickpeas, which is not a bad thing, but if you're in that pasta mode, you might not want that. So this counts as a bean serving because if you look at this, all this is chickpea flour. That's it. Okay, so this is a serving of beans for you. High protein, great stuff. Another brand, this is the Barilla, and then this one is Bonza. This was like the original chickpea pasta, I believe. They have black bean pasta, they have edamame pasta, they've got all sorts of different kinds. So go to town with those kinds of things. That counts as a bean. But otherwise, you're going to get canned black beans, lentils if you like them. I'm allergic, so I don't usually use recipes with lentils, but have at it. Chickpeas, kidney beans, cannellini beans, any kind of beans, get them. I make a Puerto Rican rice recipe with pigeon peas, which you'd find in the Hispanic aisle in the grocery store, but they're like a bean. So really good. Get as many beans as you can, and you're going to use them. So get several cans of each kind. If you hate beans, try getting your beans in other ways. Try the roasted edamame. Try hummus, which is using chickpeas. Try the chickpea pasta. Okay, so if you really hate beans, try to get them in another way because they're super important for us. Okay, so then other things like a nut butter, almond butter is what we use, but you can get cashew butter, soy butter, like wow butter, peanut butter, obviously. And anytime you're looking at this, you want to try and get it as whole as you can, meaning if you look at the ingredients on this guy, almonds and salt. All right, you can get it where it's literally just almonds, and that's really cool too, but you want to get it as pure as possible. Same thing for any of the other butters. Another thing that's in the same area as those butters most of the time is called tahini. If you are a hummus fan, we did put out a hummus recipe video using tahini, and it's basically ground up. It's pure ground sesame seeds. So that's all that the ingredients are. And both of these, these butters and the tahini, they count as a fat. So you don't want more than one serving of that a day. All right, if you have weight to lose. If you don't, you can have more. So start somewhere. But either way, those are great to have in the fridge. Then almond or soy milk, we get let me show you. Sorry, I didn't want to have this out on the counter for this whole video, but we get the unsweetened plain variety. Now, there's all sorts of different almond milk, and almond milk, it's hard to find like really pure almond milk. I will say that. in the winter we were making our own, but with things being so crazy with work, we're kind of back to the cartons. And just, you just want to get it as plain as possible, because they start adding sugar to it, and then it starts taking away from the whole impact of just using that. And I get it. So if you want to use it like an oatmeal, you can get it with vanilla. I get the plain because the green bean casserole recipe I use calls for almond milk, and we make that pretty frequently, like probably twice a month. So that's always a good thing to have. Vanilla extract, rolled oats, just kind of oatmeal in the big jar instead of the instant packs. You don't want to get the instant packs of oatmeal. They've got loaded with sugar. Just get oatmeal by itself. Really great for overnight oats. I think I put a video out for some overnight oats recipes for breakfast. So one of the struggles with this way of eating is people are like, I don't know what to eat for breakfast. Try some overnight oats. So good, easy, meal prep style, great for kids. All right, so for our hit kids team, great for them. Brown rice, quinoa. So if you're not familiar with what quinoa is, it looks like this. We get it in bulk, and I just store it in little jars. It's actually a seed, but it counts in the whole grain category for most meal plan things like this. For all intents and purposes, it acts like a whole grain, so that's great. And you can get more, if you want to try out different grains. I love trying different grains. I use barley in my chickpea pasta sometimes. You can get wild rice in like these bags. I think it's this, can't remember the name of that one brand, but in the rice aisle, there's a brand, they have like different medleys of rice. You can get that. Farro, that's another one. So get excited with the whole grains. You're not cutting, your whole grains, or you got three servings of them a day. So you might as well experiment and mix it up a bit. Chickpea pasta, like I said. Oh, in terms of let's say you want some pasta, don't eat the white pasta if you can eat the whole grain pasta. I have found that this one is the best in terms of the nutritional profile. So in terms of what you're getting from it, you're getting 10% of your daily value of iron in this, and it's a really good. The only ingredients are durum whole wheat flour. So that's it. So this is Ronzoni Healthy Harvest Whole Grain. I put that on the list just so you have it as a reference. Other things we have a lot, capers. I make that the chickpea salad or some other dishes have those in them. Then another thing is sun-dried tomatoes. So I use these on some salads, and I get them in the bag. Unfortunately, the ones in the jar, I try and avoid the plastic, but the ones in the jar are like covered in oil, which is nasty, and it's really messy to clean up after. So I get the bag. Let's see, roasted red peppers we use a lot, cut up with some cucumbers. It's a great way to get some veggies in. And another thing same thing with this, you want to get it as pure as possible. So this brand is great. It's imported from Greece, and it's just a ShopRite brand, but if you shop at Giant, I'm sure they're going to have something comparable. All it is red peppers, water, vinegar, salt. If you can find one without salt, that's even better, but probably not, because it's like a pickled pepper basically. Let's see, olives. We eat a lot of olives in our salads. Raw cashews, you can use in a lot of different recipes for like a creamy base to a sauce. What I put applesauce or pumpkin puree if you're into baking things like banana bread or zucchini bread, because you're not using eggs. You're going to have to get a little bit creative with how you would use a binding ingredient. So there, you can actually get this stuff called egg replacer, which we've used. Or you can use flax seeds, which you should have anyway, on your chart. Or you can use chia seeds, or in addition to, I should say, instead of oil in a lot of those baked recipes, you can use applesauce or pumpkin puree. So what I usually do is I'll get the little baby food jars, because then I don't use applesauce for a lot of other things. So sometimes if you get a big jar of applesauce and you use a cup for a recipe, then you just have a big jar of applesauce in your fridge that you're not going to eat. If you eat applesauce, again, you want to make sure it's just pure apples, no sugar added. then that's fine. Just stick it in the fridge and eat it another time. I don't do that, so it winds up going bad. So I get the little baby food jars so that I can just use a little bit and then I'm not wasting. So applesauce. So sweeteners for coffee or tea. If you're a tea or coffee drinker, we use stevia. These are two brands you might see: Truvia, Sweet Leaf. There's other ones. Stevia in the raw is a lot of coffee places have that. I don't think Dunkin' has stevia. They didn't the last time I went, which was like before quarantine, but they're usually green packets. So if you're out and you're not sure, like Quick Check or Wawa has, I believe, all green packets. We get stevia on Amazon, but you can get it in health food stores as well. That's like a dropper variety. This is the kind we put in our coffee, but they also have it in like fruit varieties. So you can make almost like a berry water or a lemon water. Pretty yummy that way. But you don't have to spend the money. You could just use regular sugar. Just try and cut down. This doesn't affect your blood sugar like regular sugar does. And it's a whole plant-based product. It's not a chemical that they made in a factory. Stevia, I have stevia growing in my sunroom. It's just a very sweet leaf, hence the name. It's a plant. And so they always say if stevia were found before sugar cane, stevia would have actually probably been the thing we chose to use because it's got actually a much sweeter quality to it. Something else, honey, pure maple syrup. Try and get pure maple syrup if instead of like Aunt Jemima's, that's actually just like colored corn syrup. Because some recipes call for, or even like let's say you're making oatmeal and you want to add just a little bit of sweetness to it instead of using like stevia if you don't have it. Just do a little tiny bit of that pure maple syrup, and it's going to sweeten it. It's sugar, but it's a natural product, and it's a good way to sweeten as opposed to a bad syrup or a nasty sugar product that's not actually sugar. Other things, whole wheat flour is a great one, and I put on there crispy onions. They're like like the Funyun. I think that's what they're called. Like you can get, I'm blanking on the name of the brand that you get around Thanksgiving to put on top of a green bean casserole. It is a splurge because they're high in fat. However, they're really good on that green bean casserole, and I use them sparingly, and it's worth it. So if you want to make that green bean casserole with me later this week, you're going to want to get your fried onions, your fresh green beans. You want to get like good produce bag full of those. You're going to need your almond milk and whole wheat flour. So make sure you have those things ready and available. Now, some other things. We use vegan butter. We don't use it a ton, but we have it out on the counter for when we use butter. And the brand that we use is Earth Balance. Really great. But it's a saturated fat. So it's a fat. You want to just make sure you're cognizant of that. But and sometimes you just need a little bit of that butter. You're already cutting back so much. So it's okay if occasionally you use that little bit of butter, vegan butter. And then beverages, coffee, tea, water, of course, and seltzer. If you're not a seltzer fan, just try it. It took me like 30 years to like seltzer. My whole extended family drank it as a kid, and I was like, oh, it's disgusting. Even in my working career, my friends would have it, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know how you drink that, because I was drinking soda all the time probably, and it obviously doesn't taste the same as soda. But give it a shot now, because your taste change, and once you start getting rid of the soda in your life, you might find that you like that little bit of a bubble during your afternoon or whatever it is, and it's just seltzer and natural flavors, so it's totally fine. So all right, guys, so that is a long-winded video. I apologize for the length, but I definitely wanted to give you guys a head start on that shopping list and what those things are. You want to avoid any of the stuff that is processed or covered in fat or loaded up with sodium or loaded up with sugar. Really, any of the processed stuff. You want to stick with the stuff I talked about, and that is going to be what's going to be the best results for you. All right, guys. So please let me know if you have any questions. Post the meals that you're making. Like let's all share in this. I think that's a great idea. I'm going to post some video recipes this week, and we will take it from there. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon, Hit Team.